The story revolves around two American soldiers who find themselves in a dire situation in the deserts of Iraq. To escape from a legendary Iraqi sniper, the soldiers have to use various tactics, including faking their death. It is late summer in 2007, 4 years since the US-led invasion of Iraq. After a bloody and costly war, the conflict between the two nations finally shows signs of drawing to a close. The US has established several military bases throughout Iraq to oversee a democratic election. With the bulk of the on-ground battles won, the US also plans to safeguard the oil pipelines in the Middle Eastern nation. Thus, several platoons have been dedicated across the deserts to take out any threats looking to harm these valuable assets. U.S. Army Staff Sergeant Matthews and Sergeant Alan Isaac are two such soldiers sent to a discrete location where a pipeline construction mission has gone awry. Matthews is an experienced sniper, while Alan is his spotter, tasked with keeping an eye for incoming trouble. Currently, Matthews examines a decimated wall through his scope. Although most of this brick structure seems to be on the verge of falling, it could still provide a suitable cover for an enemy sniper. But after a sustained period of scanning, Matthews concludes that there is nobody behind the wall. As the war is almost over, soldiers on both sides do not want to risk further casualties. If any sniper was behind the wall, he must have left by now. Grumpy and tired, Matthews says that they have been overlooking the scene of the pipeline construction for around 18 hours now. And yet, he has not noticed any movement or even a shadow resembling a human being. Alan, who is expertly camouflaged in a nearby bush, corrects him. They have been here for well over 20 hours. Matthews once again reiterates that there is no enemy here, but the spotter is suspicious. He looks into his field scope and examines the various dead bodies spread near the pipeline. These casualties include 6 construction workers, some of whom were inside excavators and 2 armed guards. Peculiarly, all of their bodies are lying on the open ground, pointing to the fact that none of them took cover from the firing that killed them. Alan questions whether they knowingly did not look for cover, or it was too late before they knew what was happening. But Matthews dismisses these speculations, pointing out that no single sniper could have taken out 8 people in such a short time. But his colleague is busy looking at the dead bodies through his scope and guesses that 7 of the US soldiers were killed through headshots. Only one, the soldier with a radio used to communicate with the US base, has been killed by a wound to the leg. Alan has a burning feeling that whoever was behind this is a pro sniper with several years of battle experience. He also ominously says that he is scared of the wall that Matthews was scanning earlier. Thus, the 2 American sergeants lay low behind their cover and continue to search the area for potential enemies. Several hours later, Matthews begins to mentally wilt under Iraq's scorching heat. He asks his spotter if he still thinks there is an enemy nearby. After quickly examining the area for the umpteenth time, Alan says that he is 80% sure that there is no threat near the pipeline. This is enough for Matthews to forfeit his cover and stand up. Frustrated and exhausted, he begins to undo his ghillie suit. But Alan is still unwilling to give up their position and begs his friend to lay low. But after a bit of argument, the seasoned sniper decides that he is going to walk towards the body of the US soldier who had been holding a radio. He will use that to contact their base and ultimately be picked up from the scorching sun. Since Matthews is the senior officer here, Alan eventually has to agree to this plan. Following this, the sniper grabs his helmet, rifle, and a walkie-talkie and heads towards the pipeline. Initially, the 2 colleagues joke about Matthews being rigid due to his body size, but things begin to get serious as he reaches the pipe. He orders Alan to focus on the wall, fearing there would be enemies behind it. But Alan's field scope begins to fog up just as Matthews approaches the wall. The sniper urges him to throw the faulty scope away, but Alan reveals that it belonged to his close friend Dean, who passed away during a previous mission. In the meantime, Matthews begins to suspect that there is something terrifying going on here. He notices that all the US soldiers, even those who are inside vehicles, have been killed by precise headshots. This is the work of an elite sniper hiding somewhere nearby. Juba, a legendary Iraqi sniper known for his long killing streak of US soldiers, immediately pops up in his mind. On the other hand, Alan, who is having a difficult time clearing his scope, suggests Matthews immediately leave the open ground. Just as the latter picks up the radio transmitter from one of the dead US soldiers and looks for possible cover, a bullet hits him square in the abdomen. Alan watches in horror as Matthews drops to the ground, writhing in pain. Immediately, he grabs his assault rifle, straps on his helmet, and bolts toward the pipeline. He only makes it a few meters away when a bullet flies past dangerously close to his head. Alan then begins running in a zigzag pattern and safely makes it to where Matthews is lying down. Suddenly, a bullet hits Alan on his thighs, but he manages to stay on his feet. Matthews, who is conscious, orders him to get cover immediately. Nearby is the partially decimated wall that the two had scanned for several hours earlier. Thus, Alan grabs the radio transmitter and scampers towards the wall. He makes it to the other side just as a bullet misses him by a few inches. Several bricks from the wall fall on Alan's body, and he is temporarily disoriented. Matters get worse when he sees his raw bullet wound and blood pouring out of his leg. The military instincts kick in. He secures himself against the wall and shouts at his injured colleague to use a tourniquet around his wound. Alan then also ties a tourniquet tightly around his wound to prevent further blood loss. Despite immense pain, Matthews comes up with a rescue plan. He had managed to secure the radio transmitter earlier and suggests Alan use it to contact their base. This way, they can call for backup and request extraction. Still reeling from the bullet wound, Isaac drags himself to the radio, which is a few feet away from him. He then tries to contact the base only to discover that it does not pick up any frequency. On further inspection, he finds a bullet hole in the radio. To his horror, he realizes that it was the Iraqi sniper Juba who had intentionally shot the antenna, restricting them from calling for any help. He tries to mend the radio and contact the base again, but hears nothing but static sounds from the other end. At the same time, Matthews asks Isaac to spot the enemy sniper so that he can take aim at him. He asks if the spotter had seen which direction the bullet came from or the possible distance where the shot was fired from. Alan has no idea about either of these things. He also tries to stop Matthews, warning that if he moves, the sniper will shoot him again. Despite this, Matthews makes a failed attempt to reach out to his sniper rifle and passes out. On the other hand, Alan pulls his scope towards himself and takes out a few bricks from the crumbling wall to set up the instrument. Despite hurting his hand in the process, he manages to stick the scope in a way that he can gaze at any enemy firing. It is at this moment that Isaac realizes that Matthews has lost consciousness due to blood loss, and there is nothing they can do at the moment. So he decides to use the time to take out the bullet from his leg and to bandage the wound. He takes out his knife and uses it to scoop out the bullet, screaming in agony the whole time. But he too has lost a considerable amount of blood and eventually passes out too. In the following scene, Isaac regains consciousness and hears some noise coming out of his radio earphone. The voice from the other end identifies as an officer from the base who is trying to connect to any surviving U.S. soldier near the pipeline. A relieved Alan relays the information that he is currently pinned down by enemy fire while one of his colleagues is unconscious. He requests immediate backup and medical supplies. As per military procedure, the officer asks for Alan's position, and he answers with a code name for the spot he is currently in. The officer on the other end acknowledges this and asks him to wait for a few seconds. A few minutes pass and there is no communication from the base. Thus, Alan contacts back once more and finds the same officer replying to him. But the officer on the other end of the radio asks Alan to identify himself and his colleague, which he quickly does. In response, the officer says that medics and evacuation are on the way. Suddenly, Alan notices the bullet that he had painfully taken out of his thigh. It is a high-caliber ammunition, which makes Alan realize that the enemy is somewhere close. Thus, he once again contacts the officer through the radio and requests a UAV to locate the enemy. But the officer begins behaving weirdly as he keeps stalling Alan's request and keeps asking unusual questions that an officer in such a combat zone would not. Then, as he continues talking, Alan gets suspicious when the officer asks him to reveal his position to deliver the medical supplies. The officer also suggests Isaac stand up and fire in the air so that they can pinpoint his actual location. However, this action is against the protocol, which an officer would have known. After this, Alan focuses on the officer's accent and comes to a horrific realization. The man he has been talking to is not an American officer, but the Iraqi sniper who had shot down Matthews and him. This enemy soldier has access to the American base radio frequencies and has been pretending to be an American all this time. Despite the Iraqi sniper's cover being blown, he still asks Alan to keep talking as he wants to know about him. At first, Alan refuses his request, but when the sniper threatens to shoot Matthews again, He begrudgingly agrees. Following this, he requests the Iraqi sniper to introduce himself first. Taking this as an opportunity, Alan starts drawing the site's map on the ground, trying to calculate the possible position of the enemy. After taking a pause, the sniper tells Isaac that he's just a regular Iraqi citizen trying to save his country. He then asks the American about his family, but Alan refuses to answer, pointing out that the question is too personal. Alan also ridicules the sniper by telling him that he's killing the people who are actually trying to develop his country. Hearing this, the Iraqi sniper simply laughs and replies that he knows that the whole invasion and subsequent inflow of funding in Iraq is actually not for his country. He claims that all of the money will be used for the sole benefit of the USA. Later, when Isaac doesn't reveal anything about himself, the sniper again threatens to shoot Matthews. However, this time, Alan takes a risk and brushes off the threat. In a shocking twist, the sniper reveals that he knows about Dean's demise. This revelation stuns Alan, who wonders how the enemy sniper got this information. After a while, Alan tries to drink water from his bottle, but finds it empty due to a bullet hole. The enemy sniper is also aware of Alan's situation as he reveals that he intentionally shot the water bottle, the radio antenna, and his thigh. Furthermore, he mentions that he did all this to make Isaac incapable of escaping the area surrounding the pipeline. The sniper further tells Alan that he will be dead before the morning because of the heavy blood loss from his legs. In the following scene, Alan tries to figure out the exact weapon the sniper is using at the moment. He also calls the sniper a terrorist, but the latter simply laughs and reminds Alan that it is he who is in a foreign country with a gun, killing the native people. While his enemy is talking, Alan scans the surrounding area through his scope and finally deduces that the Iraqi sniper is hiding in a pile of trash near the pipeline. Analyzing the harsh conditions over there, he concludes that the Iraqi soldier is the infamous sniper Juba. However, the sniper denies this and claims to be a normal Iraqi man. Hearing this, Alan tells the sniper that he must have been an ex-US Army officer who later betrayed them. The sniper once again dismisses the claim and informs Alan that he just kills the people who attack him first. Soon, Alan falls to the ground because of dehydration and exhaustion. Minutes later, the sniper ominously warns that after Alan dies, he will cut his facial skin and staple his tongue to his chest. Sometime later, Alan plans to trick the sniper by putting his helmet and jacket on a wooden stick. Unfortunately, the sniper does not fall for it, and the American loses his helmet during the process. Left with no other options, Alan takes a suicidal run toward a deceased soldier nearby to find out if he has something useful in his bag. But when he returns to his hideout, he finds that his scope is damaged too and can no longer scan possible enemies. However, Alan feels some disturbance in his radio signals and realizes that Matthews is actually alive. He yells at his colleague and provides him with the location of the sniper. Barely conscious, Matthews takes out a shiny emblem from his pocket and takes a look at the heap of trash through the reflection. With Isaac trying to distract the sniper, Matthews slowly lunges towards his rifle. At the same time, the sniper reveals that he used to be a teacher in Baghdad during the start of the war. But after his students got killed during an American attack, he decided to take revenge for their deaths. Meanwhile, the sniper asks Alan about why he keeps on carrying the faulty scope. When Alan does not reply for some time, the sniper threatens to shoot Mathis. Trying to distract attention away from his colleague, Alan then reveals that he carries the scope in memory of his friend Dean. In a shocking twist, he also reveals that his mistake led to Dean being killed. In the meantime, Matthews places his rifle and blindly aims at the pile of trash. He shoots multiple times, but when he's about to reload his gun, the Iraqi sniper shoots him back, which hits him right on his shoulder. Because of this, Alan suggests Matthews crawl towards him. Unfortunately, before the latter can do so, he is shot right behind his head and killed instantly. Seeing his close friend's death, Alan breaks down and mentions that he wants to return back home. Surprisingly, the sniper says that if that is what Alan really wants, he will not shoot him. After a while, the sniper asks Alan why he's still there despite the war being over. Alan takes a pause and replies that he's there because it's he who is actually responsible for Dean's death. Isaac then confesses that he accidentally shot Dean while he was trying to shoot an enemy sniper. He also mentions that he's been lying to everyone about Dean getting killed by the enemy sniper. While he's talking, Alan hears some noise coming out of the radio transmitter. He immediately crawls towards it and tries to contact the base. But to his bad luck, the radio is so badly damaged that he can only hear the conversation going on and cannot ask for help. Suddenly he hears the sniper using his name to ask for help from the base. It finally dawns on Alan that the sniper has been contacting the US base and asking for additional help all this time. He tries to interrupt the conversation, but fails every single time before eventually passing out. In the next scene, Alan wakes up with a crow picking on his leg wound. Gathering all remaining courage, he somehow manages to drag Matthews' sniper rifle and aims at the sniper hiding in the heap of trash. Just then he notices a US military helicopter approaching the spot. To reveal his location, Alan pushes down the wall in front of him. The Iraqi sniper also tries to spot Isaac, but due to the dust from the falling wall, he's unable to locate anything. On the other hand, after getting the sniper's location, Alan unleashes several shots at the garbage heap, but cannot confirm whether his enemy is now dead. Alan stands up from his position and, surprisingly, does not get shot at. As a result, he thinks that his shot was accurate, and that the enemy sniper is either hurt or dead. Soon the helicopters land nearby, and the soldiers carry him on a stretcher. Alan tries to inform them about the hiding sniper, but is unable to communicate with the officers properly. After the helicopters take off, the Iraqi sniper suddenly starts shooting the soldiers one by one. Before Isaac can warn soldiers about the sniper, the pilot gets shot, and the helicopter goes down, crashing on the ground and killing everyone on board. In the last scene, the sniper calls the American soldiers' base and asks for another rescue, but he once more disguised himself as an American soldier.